Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while since we've just had a chat. This is going to be one of those videos where you don't need to really watch, for lack of a better word, but I really hope you tune in and listen. So this is one of the ones where you can put the earphones in while you're going for a walk, maybe leave it running on the TV while you're doing some housework at home, perhaps put it onto the Bluetooth speakers in the car and just have a bit of a listen, because we're going to have a bit of a chat about Pokemon card investing and how we're nearly halfway through the year, but the first half of the year is sort of gone about its business. I'm going to touch on a fair few topics, and I'm going to give some advice along the way. Hey, first thing I wanted to talk about is, before we even jump into the whole topics at hand, is of course, what a year it's been so far. It's been great. And one of the other things I want to touch on is, and this goes into the content creating space, is just a big, I suppose, pat on the back to everyone that gives it a crack. And this is, I suppose, come about from the conversation that I had with Rob Does Pokemon. So in case you haven't seen the video, jump onto his channel. We linked up a couple of days ago, probably 4 or 5 days ago now, and we just had a bit of a chat about Pokemon card investing. Obviously, it's on his channel, so go check him out. He's a great guy, really nice to chat to. It went for about an hour and 25 minutes, I believe. And we talked all things Pokemon card investing and a bit of vintage Manchester United. So anyway, it was a really fun chat. But the first message I wanted to give out is, and it relates it back to that OKJ Love interview about all the content creators in the space. So I just wanted to give a pat on the back for everyone that's just giving it a crack. It's not easy, is it? You're putting yourself out on the line, for lack of a better word. Like you're putting yourself out into the public space and for people to, give praise to, but also give criticism to. So it's almost a bit of a brave thing for people to do. There has been another one that comes about on this. I don't know, most people that probably watch Pokemon card investing channels like mine have probably seen him. Top 10 Pokemon sent out that video, which was basically saying goodbye. Like he's hanging up the boots indefinitely until perhaps maybe making a comeback somewhere down the track. He did leave the door a tiny bit open, but, and he spoke about, I suppose, maybe a little bit of burnout in the area, and trying to make sure his content's good and enjoyable for viewers, and trying to juggle life and everything else in between. So I suppose pat on the back, hats off to anyone that really just gives it a crack in the Pokemon card investing space, and particularly when it comes to content creating, whether it's YouTube, whether it's a Patreon, whether it's an Instagram account, whether it's a TikTok account. It's not easy. So hats off to you all that give it a crack. But some topics I wanted to touch on today. I want to talk a few things, the rise of Sword and Shield for the first half of the year, trends repeating themselves, Sword and Shield Sealed, Sword and Shield Singles, Scarlet and Violet's early sets and how much stronger they are than Sword and Shield's early sets, possible future sets coming out at the end of the year, Dragon-based sets, Team Rocket set based on early next year. The advice, I guess, I've given and, what's sort of come true and what hasn't, and maybe a bit of a, where to next and where to park the money down the track. So that's all I want to cover sort of in this video. But hey, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you want to become a channel member, that would be greatly appreciated. All you need to do is jump on and join from the homepage, and you can shoot me any investment-related questions via email, and I'll get back to you in a timely manner. So onto the topic at hand. So let's start off with the rise of Sword and Shield and trends repeating itself, because these two go hand in hand. And I don't want to talk in depth about this because I've done whole videos on this, but I think it's worthy to note for the first half of the year, in that history just seems to keep repeating itself, doesn't it? I've said it countless times that, if we look at the latter Sun and Moon sets, and even mid Sun and Moon sets, and of course early Sun and Moon sets, but mainly mid and latter Sun and Moon sets, they're always, hovering around a certain price. And the moment they're out of print, everything starts to go up in price. Now, I don't need to show trends and graphs on it. Like I said, this is just a conversation, a chat, this video. So, and we saw it again. Everyone was saying, well, Sword and Shield's going to be different, like massively different, because print runs, Millennium Print Group which was utilized by the Pokemon Company International, was actually purchased by the Pokemon Company International. And everyone was saying, hey, look, now that there's, 8 billion Pokemon cards printed in such and such year, we're never going to see price rises in cards. The reason things were printed more is to keep up with demand. Like, there's no point the Pokemon Company printing so many cards that the market can't absorb it. Vice versa, there's also no point doing it the other way around, printing too few cards that the market has too much demand for those cards. It'll always generally find itself into some level of equilibrium. Now, that equilibrium I just want to touch on can be thrown off a little bit whether a set's super strong or whether a set's super weak. So take, for example, the Sword and Shield block. We all know Evolving Skies is by far the strongest set. So it probably got printed a similar amount, maybe a touch less, than something like a Vivid Voltage. But Vivid Voltage, due to its popularity, has hovered around a certain price, whereas Evolving Skies has gone to a completely different price. So my point is, yes, things were massively printed to meet demand, but sometimes demand can waver based on the popularity of the set and how strong the chase cards, of course. Like, that's common sense. So something like Evo Skies, prices have continued to rise because the market's continued to absorb up the product. Product is getting scarcer and scarcer, drying out. Whereas Vivid Voltage, the market's gone, yeah, this is a great set when it's come out. And Pokemon Company International has gone, yep, let's print to demand, then let's print more of it because the market's absorbing it. And then all of a sudden they've gone, hold on, better sets are out now. Chilling Reign's out, Fusion Strike's out, Evolving Skies is out, even Battle Styles is out with alternate arts inside it and the sleepy Tyranitar that we want to chase. So, the demand for Vivid Voltage slowed down, and it must be trickling through. We're slowly eating into supply for sets like Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage. But that's my point is, trends are just same old story, isn't it? They're just repeating itself. We get to this equilibrium where supply is meeting demand. The Pokemon Company International is a massive beast. The marketing coordinators, the brains that are inside there know what they're doing. So, I just wanted to touch on that point to start off with, the fact that Sword and Shield has just been repeated. And this leads me into my next 2 points, which is Sword and Shield sealed and Sword and Shield singles. Same thing. History repeats itself. As supply starts to dry up, sealed prices start to increase, and therefore, or as a result, maybe is it the chicken or the egg? Singles prices have done the same thing. Whether it's we're looking at alternate arts from Chilling Reign, whether it's we're looking at alternate arts from Battle Styles. Like, look at the sleepy Tyranitar lately. That thing's like, that's hit the freight train. Go check that out on TCG Player. Whether it's, old arts from Chilling Reign, Evo Skies, Fusion Strike, Brilliant Stars, Astral Radiance, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest now. Same thing's happening. Singles start off here on release, then they dip as more and more supply comes out and the more stock becomes readily available for people to purchase. Then as people go, hold on, these sets are sort of out of print now. We might not be able to ever get any more of it. Singles prices rise back up. Like, the trend just continues. And will it dip back down again like we've seen in Sun and Moon from the maybe unrealistic highs that some of those Sword and Shield old arts are sitting at? Well, every chance. If I was a betting man, I'd say some of them would pull back a little bit. So if you've got the question, a lot of people ask me these questions, is it a good time to sell? Like, if you have a PSA 10 Sleeping Tyranitar, if you have a PSA 10 Blaziken from Chilling Reign, if you have PSA 10 Gengar from Fusion Strike, is it a good time to sell? Yeah, quite possibly, and most probably. Will those cards come back down to earth a little bit? Also, most likely and quite probably. Could they continue to rise for the coming, 3 to 6 months? Yeah, they could. If you've achieved the gains you want to achieve on them, though, and you need to move some equity or some liquidity into something else, then it's not a bad time to sell. And like I said, is it the chicken or the egg? So is it those singles prices causing the sealed to increase, or is it the sealed, decreasing? I don't think it really matters. Either way, there's a direct relationship between the two of them, but we're definitely seeing Sword and Shield sealed go to all new heights very, very quickly. And the question then becomes, is it still investable? And I've also touched on this point a lot of times. Yes, it is. It won't. The good sets from Sword and Shield won't stop. It'll go down as a fantastic era. And I want to touch on this for Scarlet and Violet very shortly, but I almost feel Scarlet and Violet's been a little bit underappreciated, which I'll get to very shortly. But back to the notion of, is Sword and Shield booster box, or are Sword and Shield booster boxes still investable? Well, yes, they are. And we saw that with Sun and Moon, when Cosmic Eclipse, Unbroken Bonds, Ultra Prism, etc., Celestial Storm, Team Up, whatever it might be, when they were all at, $200 a booster box, and people going, did we miss the boat there? We missed out on them at 100. We missed doubling our money. We've missed that initial, 100% gain in price, much like we're sitting at now with sets like Fusion Strike, Brilliant Stars almost, Lost Origin, particularly Evolving Skies. Let's leave that out of the equation for the second. They're all predominantly, pushing $200, if not a touch more. People are going to ask themselves, have they missed the boat? Well, yes, you have missed the initial boat. You've missed that initial massive raise from, $100 US to $200 US, the easiest 100% to make. The next 100% you're going to make is going from $200 to $400. And that could be a little bit slower. And there's every chance it will be a little bit slower. But if we look at history from Sun and Moon, all the good sets from Sun and Moon, even the mid-tier sets, even and I won't put Ultra Prism in that because that's got some awesome trainer cards inside it. But even if you're looking at Lost Thunder and Celestial Storm, for argument's sake, which are very mid sets, what do you got to chase in that? I mean, Celestial Storm's got the nice Rainbow Rayquaza, and Lost Thunder's got the nice Rainbow Lugia. But other than that, yeah, there's a few really nice trainer cards inside there. But other than that, you don't have a heap of great chase cards. If you compare those sets to mid-tier Sword and Shield sets, I don't think they even compare. So could the mid-tier Sword and Shield sets even outperform the mid-tier Sun and Moon sets? There's every chance they could. So I just wanted to touch on that. Yes, I want to make it clear you've missed that initial, 100% gain from 100 to 200, but don't think you've missed the boat completely. I know it's a hard pill to swallow to pump money into something that's $220 US like a Fusion Strike booster box when you could have bought it for 85 or 90 or 100. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it doesn't mean you've missed out. Because I can guarantee you in 5 years' time, if you want to play the long game, you'll be kicking yourself that you didn't buy a Fusion Strike booster box at $220. And I'm not trying to pump that set up. I'm just saying those will be facts. In 5 years' time, a Fusion Strike booster box will be nowhere near $220 US. A Fusion Strike booster box is probably going to be pushing, I'm just plucking numbers out of the air, but in 5 years' time, I think a Fusion Strike booster box is pushing $500-600 US. So there's every chance you could 2.5 or 3 times your money from now to 5 years on picking up some of those mid-tier Sword and Shield booster boxes. Now, on to Scarlet and Violet. I've done a few videos where I've gone Sword and Shield versus Scarlet and Violet, and I've gone through the first sets. Obviously base set versus base set, Paldea Evolve versus Rebel Clash, Darkness Ablaze versus Obsidian Flames, etc., all the way through the latest sets. And you know what we realised? That Scarlet and Violet has beaten all Sword and Shield sets, in my opinion. Paldean Fates smashes, what was it, Shining Fates? Paldean Fates smashes Shining Fates out of the water. Pokemon 151 absolutely eclipses Champion's Path, which is a 2-trick pony. Of course, you got 2 secret rare Charizards inside there, and other than that, you don't really have a great deal. So I don't think Scarlet and Violet has completely got the love that it deserves. And perhaps maybe I've also said a few, I wouldn't say negative comments. I've just said that it's missed the boat a tiny bit. And I know not every set can be a stellar set. You can't have a good set without having a bad set. Otherwise, where's your yardage stick? So I get that. I do get that. But I just think some of the sets have missed the boat a tiny bit. Even Temporal Forces or Paradox Rift, which are full with special illustration rares and beautiful illustration rares, but I just feel they've missed the boat on just injecting maybe a couple of extra Pokemon just to go bang and give it that real pop that it needs. I've said that with, maybe something like, the Ancient and Future Pokemon. Why didn't we have a special illustration rare Deoxys? Why didn't we capitalize? I know we had the Groudon, but why didn't we capitalize with a Kyogre, for argument's sake, in Temporal Forces to match up with the Groudon that was in Paradox Rift? I just feel there's a few missed opportunities. But having said that, that's the only gripe I have so far from Scarlet and Violet. It's great job, great job, great job. The artwork is phenomenal, but you've just missed a trick a tiny bit. Having said that, though, if you actually study the artwork, and it wasn't until I did the video, I think it was last video, where I looked at all 82 special illustration rares that have been released so far throughout Scarlet and Violet era. Just study them and try and rank them from 1 to 82. Now, that got a little bit of backlash. Some people didn't like me putting Greninja at number 2. Anyway. But I actually really, just study them. Look at some of the details inside them. The card artwork is so much better. Not only that, we've also got all the illustration rares. So special illustrations rares doesn't include Raichu from Paldea Evolve, doesn't include Magikarp from Paldea Evolve, doesn't include Groudon from Paradox Rift. So just look at actually how good all the artwork is. And not only that, there's actually a fair few Scarlet and Violet cards or cards throughout a set that are holding quite firm in price still. And look, reprints could be around the corner. just wait until September, October and see what happens with the first sort of, 6 sets from Scarlet and Violet. Base has already had a reprint. I wouldn't be surprised if Paldea gets a reprint. I wouldn't be surprised if Obsidian gets a small reprint. These are still important sets to the meta, as in, people still need to get those cards at a reasonable price to be able to play the TCG. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those early, even maybe up to something like a Paradox Rift, gets a small reprint come September, October, or maybe even some possible large reprints. Will it be booster boxes? Will it just be ETBs? Not 100% sure, but that could happen. But back to my point about cards holding firm, a lot of the main sets from Scarlet and Violet, and take for example Paldea Evolve, look at the number of cards sitting above $10. Then look at the number of cards sitting above $5. And you go, hold on, we end up getting to a similar point that we got to with a set like Chilling Reign, where everyone recognized how good the artwork was on Chilling Reign. And everyone recognized that there's plenty of cards above $5 raw and $10 raw. But everyone just sort of went, it doesn't really have fan favorite Pokemon. Yes, it's got the Blaziken alternate art, which is phenomenal and always come out of the gate pretty hot. And yes, it's got the 3 Galarian birds, but that's about it. And the vibe I get from a lot of Scarlet and Violet sets is almost the vibe I got from Chilling Reign when it first came out, in that people recognized how good the artwork was, but they didn't really give the set the credit that it deserved. And it wasn't until it got a little bit older and out of stock and out of print and, supply started dwindling that people went, hold on, this is actually better than we said. And I can tell you now, I can almost guarantee it, I feel the same thing's going to happen to a lot of Scarlet and Violet sets, in that people look back and they'll go, you know what, Temporal Forces was actually pretty damn good. And Paradox Rift was also pretty damn good. And then all of a sudden, we'll get that they'll start to get that mid-tier recognition that it deserves. And, once reprint and supply starts drying up, I can guarantee you the trend will repeat itself. So if you want to get in while you still can at that $100 price point, not the $200 price point in 3 or 4 years' time, now's the time to do it, isn't it? And that leads me to the next point, which is future sets. It's funny, isn't it? It's like sets just come out and people are always going, where's the next one? Where's the next one? Like Twilight Masquerade has just hit and everyone's always going, straight away there's this talk of the Team Rocket set coming out next year. Where's that Dragon set, Paradise Dragona that we've been promised? Everyone's going, next set, next set, next set. We want the next big thing. It's funny how that happens, isn't it? But it sounds like we obviously need to wait on more concrete details to come into play, but it sounds like we're going to have some exciting sets coming up for the second half of Scarlet and Violet, which would be great. A lot of people, I feel, have been holding out their investment funds until those come out, which is fair enough, and also until maybe the reprint window, September, October seems to pass and all people see what happens with it. So that'll be an interesting thing to come. Now, the final couple of points I wanted to touch on is advice. So I'm certainly not saying I'm the guru here, but some things have rung true. Like, at the start of the year, I kept almost hammering home the fact that history will repeat itself on Sword and Shield booster boxes. In Australia here, you could still buy Fusion Strike for $180. You could still buy Chilling Reign at a reasonable price. You could still buy Lost Origin for $200 and Silver Tempest for $175 at the start of the year. And I kept saying to people, look, now's the time. Before you know it, supply will dry up. Just look at eBay listings, for argument's sake, or TCG Player. Once the floor of the market moves out of the way, there's only 20 boxes below $200 for Fusion, 200 Australian dollars for Fusion Strike, and it's currently $180. Once those move, we've got a new floor of the market. We've got a new price point. So, I guess from most a lot of people say, oh, you creators are just trying to pump it up. But really, we're here just offering advice. I mean, it's up to you whether you take it or leave it, but we're really just offering advice. So where to next? Where to park the money? From my point of view, and I'm going to do a whole video about my game plan for the rest of the year, but from my point of view, I'm sort of waiting to that September, October. Still picking up booster boxes. I really, really like Temporal Forces. I think that's a great set. I really, really like Paldea Evolve. I'm a bit scared that maybe that'll get a reprint. It'll bring it back down to earth, I think, for a couple of years, but we know the general trend. Depends on the size of the reprint, of course. That's where I think we've got to go to next. If you feel like you've missed Sword and Shield, don't worry. If you still want to park some money there, that'll be fine. They'll keep going up. Anyway, I feel like we've run out of, I don't know how long we've been going for. I feel like we've been talking for 15 minutes at least. Anyway, you can pop that TV off, turn the headphones off or the car radio off, and we'll catch up next time. Thanks for listening to the chat. I'm Michael. This is Pokey Oz.